This is the Sprinter Mom with Lashes On podcast.
All right, welcome back, Sprinter Mom with Lashes On. I got a little fake glue in today. They're working kind of. And I have my lovely friend Andrea here, who's here, and we love to talk pop culture together.
Yes, ma'am.
Not politics, pop culture. That is why we're here today. And lucky for you, we have brought a Swig flight. So not a mimosa flight, not a beer flight.
A Swig flight.
A Swig flight. So Andrea lives closer to a Swig.
Yes.
We do not have one anywhere near me.
I looked.
Actually, you introduced Brooklyn to Swig.
Oh, yeah.
And ever since then, she has been asking for it. And I'm like, no.
She just has to come to my house.
I'm not driving an hour to go get a soda that I have never seen. So Andrea says, hey, I'll bring you a Swig. We are going to do a little talk about Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. So we're going to do
a long title.
Oh, it's so long. But we wanted to do a recap and kind of a regrouping of what we thought of the show. And she was like, I'll bring you Swig. And I was like,
because they all like Swig.
Yeah. And that's what they drink. Yep. And it's like becomes their party. So
I have the demi drink.
Mm-hmm.
Mine is called the Fighter. Don't ask me what's in it. I did sparkling water. So always get sparkling water, guys. Don't do the water.
And then I said, well, you sent me the menu.
I did.
And I had never actually looked at the menu before. And then my whole world just was opened up and I was so excited. There's so many options.
So many.
We have Save Me Jade, Pretty in Pink, and Just Peachy. Now, let me tell you, I was going to say.
These two have the caffeine. This is made with sparkling water.
Oh, good to know. Okay, so I will tell you exactly what's in them because I feel like this is part of it. Okay, Pretty in Pink has water, guava, grapefruit, and fresh orange. Okay, Pretty in Pink.
I got to look up mine. Demi.
It's okay.
Sparkling water, sugar-free coconut, sugar-free vanilla, sugar-free raspberry, sugar-free pineapple, and a splash of coconut cream.
Oh.
That is the demi.
That is the demi. Just Peachy, I have right here, is a Coke Zero, pineapple, peach puree, fresh lime, and coconut cream. It's about 60 to 220 calories, depending on what size you get. We went with the small, right?
Small.
16 ounce. Oh, wait, you got to stir them when they have stuff in them.
Oh, stir it.
Oh, I think I got a little peach puree.
How's that one?
Oh, I like it.
That one?
I think you
Did
might
you try
like it
this
too.
one?
Middle one, not so good. Okay, so that one is Save Me Jade, Diet Dr. Pepper, which I love, sugar-free vanilla. Okay, so side note, when we go to QT, if I don't get Diet Mountain Dew, I get Diet Dr. Pepper with vanilla. So that's what drew me to this. I was looking for a root beer, but I wanted caffeine. And it also has sugar-free coconut. And I don't like coconut, but
no. Layla has hers is Bloody Wild. It's Mountain Dew, mango puree, strawberry puree with added coconut cream. I would have liked that one. Ooh. But I love the name Bloody Wild.
Bloody Wild. I think I'm a Just Peachy fan.
Just Peachy?
But I keep getting chunks in my mouth. So
I know, in your face. Tells me a different story.
It's
I'm going to try Save Me Jade. I feel like it needs more
flavor.
The syrup, because I just taste the Dr. Pepper.
I know, me too.
It's all right. Costin said we could make these at home.
Okay. I bet we can. Okay, so let me tell you first. When we were looking forward to the show and we had seen the previews on it and we had talked about watching it, we're both Christian women, but we know you grew up very much in a Mormon community.
Yes.
So you really know a lot more about it than I would. But we were both so interested.
Yes.
Well, because we love the pop culture and all those things. When you pressed play on this series, what was something that surprised you about it?
So the reason why I wanted to watch it the most was because of Taylor. Like, we all saw her on TikTok and I watched it unfold during COVID. And so the first episode was more like, oh, like this happened 2 years ago. So they filmed 2 years ago for the first episode, which I didn't realize that until I listened to podcasts afterwards and they shared that because I noticed the girls kind of looked different and then Taylor was pregnant. And so I was like, okay, there has to be a gap here for a reason. They didn't look well for Taylor in the first episode. Was an awful episode for her. I mean, what I like about Taylor, she owned her crap.
Yes, she did.
She owns it all. She reminds, so like Sarah said, like I grew up around the Mormon culture. My dad was raised in it, so I know a lot about it. My really good friends are Mormon. And so I'm going to be very careful because I don't want to offend anybody. But so I had that in my back of my brain the whole time while watching Taylor. And Taylor reminds me of a lot of them that are in that faith who they want to test the boundaries. Like she was born into it. Yeah. And raised into it. That's all. She doesn't know any better. And if she doesn't agree with it, I think that's why she was rebelling so much. Yeah. I think she doesn't agree with a lot of it, but she does agree with the family part because she's so family driven. Yeah. So I think that's the hard part for her. And that's why she made all those bad choices with swinging. I learned a lot about swinging in the first episode that I didn't want to learn. Didn't even know, like mind-boggling words. Like I remember we texted and I was like, do you know what this means? And you were like, no. And we were just so like, what was it again?
Oh, not soaking. Soaking. That I guess some people have come out and said that's not a thing. But when I heard Whitney talk on a podcast last night, she was like, no, it's a thing.
It's a thing.
So,
and it's a thing at BYU.
Yeah.
Which Macy shares later on in the season that it's a BYU. Oh, no, she didn't share in the season. She shared on a podcast. Yes. She named all the things and she went to BYU.
Yes.
So that shocked me. But I was really shocked just by Taylor. Like I didn't realize the extent that she went through and that she did it. Like I think now she sees that it's wrong, but and the way she talks to her mom drove me crazy. She has no respect for her mom. It just seemed that way. The way, like, you could tell her mom is like, you are making me gray. Like, wake up.
And her mom's trying.
Yeah. And so I think that bothered me because LDS is very family oriented. And I've never seen any of my friends talk to their mom and dad the way that those women talk to their parents. So that was one thing that was hard to watch.
Which kind of turns you off a little bit.
Yeah. So my guard went up, I'll be honest. Like as I started to watch the first season, I was like, woo, like, should I be watching this? Like, but I'm glad I did. So how about you?
I was surprised and I hate to say it, but I was surprised at how, first episode, like, really hooks you, made sense. It gave like the backstory. You didn't really know there was a 2-year timeline. But it was interesting. And my heart goes out to Taylor, like the whole drinking incident and all that and being arrested and like having that blasted in public, not very fun. But beyond the first episode, I was like, each one I watched, I thought, I think I'm getting more dumb just sitting here watching this because it felt like the scandal helped them. Would they have done a series if it was just on Momtok? Because Momtok was cool and popular.
They wouldn't.
I don't know that they would have.
The scandal made them as much as they all deny it.
Then from there, I'm like, it created this whole thing, and now it's like just friends going kind of after each other or knowing,
well, they always go after Taylor.
Yeah.
It's like she ruined their life, but at the same time she made.
I was going to say, okay, so if you do not know the cast, let me tell you, here are some of the main cast. I'm just going to say their name, their age, and then their followers on TikTok. Yes. Because that's kind of how that
was really interesting.
So we'll start with Frankie Taylor Frankie Paul. It's full name. She is 30. She has 4.5 million followers.
Yes.
Which probably comes from her also blasting the scandal and people knowing that
that's happening. When I started following her.
And I actually think she's very like blunt.
Yes.
And so she's like fun to
I think
watch.
when she went live on her, I think it was her TikTok she went live on. Didn't know you could go live on TikTok. Is when she gained a lot of her following because she called out every single person that she swang with.
Although I heard that the closest couple to them, they didn't name names. At least not on the show.
No. On the show, they don't say anybody. It's not those girls.
Yeah.
It's a whole different group of mom talk.
That didn't like record or whatever. Also, I'll say kids. So Taylor has 3 kids.
Yes.
Because she just had a baby. Michaela is 24. She has 2.6 million followers and 3 kids. Jen Affleck, which that was a whole thing, has 1.4 million followers and she has 2 kids. Demi only has 622.9 thousand followers, but I mean, to me, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And she has 1 child and 2 stepboys. Then, I mean, that's still a decent amount. Macy has 1.6 million followers, and she has, which I didn't realize this, and this is where they were saying they have all these stories. Her late ex-boyfriend died in a car crash while she was pregnant. So she has a son, Hudson, 9, and then a daughter she shares with her now husband. Layla, who's divorced, and they had a divorce party for her. She has 2 children with her ex. She has 228.6 thousand followers. Jessie, who has, the salon, has 424.8 thousand followers, and she has 3 kids. And following behind Taylor with the next highest amount is Whitney with 2.1 million followers and 2 kids and a third one on the way, which she's probably could have had.
And now it makes sense why they do their reels together and everything, because when you put all of those following together,
collab,
that is a huge following.
Yes.
I know I follow Macy. I follow Taylor. I don't follow Whitney because she irks me.
Speaking of Whitney, I'm very Whitney-esque today. Andrea and I
That's what I said.
So I'm wearing my Whitney dress. I'm very
you're very
covered.
Whitney
I got
today.
my shoulders, and then I've got my hair that's about her length. I think it's there now.
Yes.
She was saying her hair changed a bunch in the episode.
So many
but
times.
Again,
she explained
filmed it all these different times.
All the filming. She said, I liked how they all said, like, okay, then they came back and it was because they didn't know what was going to happen with Taylor. Yes. Legally. That had to get all cleared up. So Macy said they originally were just going to move forward without Taylor. But then they realized
Taylor
we need
is the
Taylor.
Draw. Yeah,
we need Taylor. So they waited for her to get all her legal stuff in order. And so, as much as they say they don't want her to be the ringleader, she is.
Yeah.
Her doing something so stupid brought a whole different awareness.
But then I think, like you said, she owned it too, which is so cool.
She owns it throughout all the episodes.
The one thing I wonder about Taylor, though, is because I was watching the bar one recently where they went to the bar just for a party. Like it was, the divorce party.
Yeah.
And they said, Taylor can't be here. She's not allowed to step foot in a bar or a club. And I was wondering, is that her choice because she struggled with alcoholism, or is it
a court order?
A court order.
Yeah.
I think it might be a court order.
It might be a court order because there's kids. She's got kids involved.
And to me, like, you could go to a club and drink your non-alcoholic drinks.
Yeah.
They were all doing it.
It's a thing.
It's a thing.
It's a thing.
Because it's fun and you're still going out. Okay, next question. Here is one of the things that happened that I was like, where it's maybe I haven't seen a reality show in a while where it was like, true reality, not like Bachelor and Bachelorette, I feel has a purpose. Like, and they know what they're doing.
Staged.
It's planned out, and they're going to have competitions. They're going to have people cut out, whatever. This is the first show in a long time where they plan times to talk, which I know the Kardashians have done that, but it doesn't look as obvious anymore. Where I'm like, the girls would be walking in the middle of a plant store talking about who they're inviting to the baby shower.
Yes.
Or the baby christening or blessing. So it's like those kind of things that I'm like, do you feel like a lot of it was planned out versus actually happened?
I think in the beginning, I've heard that at the beginning they all had different topics just to get them used to it. And then they said after a while, they like forgot about the cameras. And then real stuff came out. So they're saying like, even for season 2, we might even see more because they're now used to the cameras.
And I actually think from them going on podcasts and talking, it sounds like we really have only touched the surface of stories because they really focused on Taylor. But even Taylor, when she was being interviewed, was like, all these ladies have amazing backstories.
But even Taylor's story is not all the way like done on the show. There's so much more that I felt bad for Taylor, where I was like, you went through that? Like, and even her reaction, like you can tell she's still healing, like in processing that information, because she cries really, really quickly about it. And you can tell she shares she's in therapy and she's trying to work through it. But yeah, even the other girls, there's stories. Like Whitney, even though I don't like her husband and her have a great story. So.
They, so with her husband,
Connor.
So a lot of people thought he was gay, which is funny because she's like, I'll release videos so you know for sure he's not. I think he's just kind. I do think it's interesting. The one thing about which, if my husband struggled with pornography, I don't think I could ever put it on a reality show.
No,
like, I don't know that I would ever
lay out his dirty laundry.
And I wonder, one, if it's because like Taylor had so much attention and she wanted the attention on her. And like really they're filming. So she's like, well, I might as well get it out there because
people will find out.
People will find out. And if you don't say it and get it filmed, it's going to come out and people will know about his addiction that you guys worked through.
But I also think it's very much like how we were raised, like you keep it private. And I think also like they should have kept it private because he didn't tell the story. She did. I think I would have been a little bit different if he would have told it, but he didn't. It was all her. And I felt like it was a sympathy card. Like, I need sympathy here.
I wonder if people think he's gay because it seems like she's in charge of the relationship too.
I feel like all of them are in charge of their relationships.
I think all of them are financially the ones who make the money. Right.
Yeah. They've all said
they're the breadwinners.
They're the breadwinners. So I think that's like, I think she just, but in that faith, the man is the leader.
Whether you're the breadwinner or not, the husband is the leader.
You still obey and follow his direction. You know, so I think behind closed doors, it might be different than it is actually portrayed on the show. And I think that's why people question his sexuality, because I think he backed down a lot on the show, like submissive, but I think he was doing that. And I don't think it's that way for any of them.
Speaking of her husband, I just have to say this. Not only am I like dressed like Whitney today, I'm like, oh my gosh, her husband got a hair transplant. That's why his hair looks so different throughout it. And my husband got a hair transplant. But like, I think her husband got like a physical transplant. Like, it doesn't look like his hair grew. It looks like he had hair put into his head.
I never noticed.
Okay, so
I gotta go back and look.
That's the On the Vine podcast. I'm like, we listened to all these podcasts. You didn't hear that one yet, but that's something that Whitney says, because she's like, yes, my hair changed, but people also say Connor's did too. And she's like, it's true. We shaved his head, like prepping for it, and then he had this new hair. When they went to the club, he had it brushed back.
Okay. I just thought he grew it back.
No, he had a hair transplant, just like my own spouse. And then I loved when they were drinking apple cider. And he was like, I've seen people do this. And he has the champagne thing and he's trying to hit it with his fist over and over and over again. And then he like literally dents the table. And I'm like,
buddy,
it's cute. I'm like, to me, I'm like, you're not hiding that you're not a drinker. Like, clearly
you can see it.
You do not drink. And that's great.
The best is when they got their housewarming present of champagne.
And they both tried it.
And they're like, who drinks this? And I'm over here, you need orange juice.
Well, you do. And I'm like, just a whiff of orange juice, just a splash.
The whole show was very interesting to me. But yeah. Did you have another question before I share how I feel about it?
Okay. So with Taylor and Dakota.
Oh, Taylor and Dakota.
One thing that Ryan and I have been talking about recently. Hold on, I'm going to take a swig of my. That's why they call it Swig. I'm going to take a swig.
Swig. There we go.
Okay, just peachy. The puree is in there, but it tastes good. The one thing that Ryan and I have had a conversation lately, because just talking about like people we know or whatnot, and when it comes to addiction, and we've known people in the past that have struggled with addiction, whether it's to drugs or alcohol or whatnot. And it's an ever going battle. Like it's a journey. And so once they hit that point and they know they're severely an alcoholic or a drug addict or whatever it may be, that's a lifetime kind of classes or checking your, like holding yourself accountable. Like, yeah, it's a commitment. And so for Taylor, who can't drink alcohol and she has these, 2 years of sobriety under her belt or whatever, to me, when you are an addict with an addict, it's toxic. It's toxic. And it is. One day something will blow. And when that blows up, or just even think of like an addict who has certain traits and stuff, like they're not at any moment, they're like kind of like ragey. They can get triggered very easily. Yeah. And so I'm like, I don't think it's a healthy relationship to be in.
She gets triggered so easily just with infidelity, which is crazy because she's the one that did it.
Yeah.
But she's always concerned about him throughout the whole season. She's questioning him so much about his, like that he's done things
faithful to her.
Yeah. And I guess because he did at the beginning, but they weren't exclusive. So it's like, girl, that's what you get.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't like their dynamic is so toxic. I agree, especially because she struggles with alcohol. He struggles with drugs, clearly.
Yeah. I think if he had tattoos, he would look like Post Malone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He would. And he's just, he seems off. All season, I was like, something wrong with you? Like, are you doing drugs again?
Okay, when they took the pregnancy pictures and Michaela was like opening her studio and he was like, can I get in here?
And he's taking his shirt off. And I'm like.
Which in some sense, I'm like, yeah, there was a professional photographer and you jumped in the pictures. Like, I mean, now you have great pictures. And if she was a good friend, maybe it's no big deal. But it was also like so awkward.
Because they didn't have a great relationship, him and her. But yeah, I don't think they're good together. We've heard they're not together anymore. They haven't confirmed it. So we really don't know yet.
Okay.
She's made some new TikToks where it makes it seem like they're not together and he's doing stuff too. So it makes it seem like that. But then Taylor's like, stay tuned for season 2. So I think it's going to unfold because of the way it ended.
Yeah.
I think we're going to find something out.
And I think when they were doing like the baby coaching with him and they called her his wife or something and they were like, ooh, that sounds good. Your wife. And she was like,
nope.
No.
Even with her parents.
Yeah.
They were pushing her to marry him. And she was like, no.
Yeah.
She was very hesitant. But then it was like, then don't be in a relationship.
I was going to say, well, you look at, so her dad, when they were moving in together, right? Or something?
Yeah.
And their dad was not about it. And I was like, this would be our husbands would be so pissed if that went down. But then she's like, obviously you don't like me moving in with him. He's like, well, you shouldn't have gotten pregnant either. It's like, you're an idiot.
Yep.
And he doesn't care.
He doesn't care. But that is how they would react. I can see our parents acting that way. Like I could see your dad sitting there like, I'm not lifting a thing. No. My dad would be the same thing. Like you guys. So I liked her parents' dynamic because it was very similar to what I've seen. Whitney's dynamic with her parents is not normal. I've never seen a girl cuss at her parents so much. I was like, wait a minute, cursing's not allowed. Like she said the F word to her mom.
She cusses a lot.
Yeah, she like said the F word to her mom.
Devout one.
Yeah, and she calls her the saint. I'm like, you're not no saint. You're cussing out your mom. Was a huge red flag to me is the way she talked to her mom. Well, most interesting relationship I thought with the moms was Jen Affleck. Her father-in-law is a heart surgeon and her mom is the cleaning lady at the hospital that he does his surgeries. Now that's a crazy dynamic. And they
talk about two worlds.
Totally opposite worlds.
Yes.
And Jen shares that like her mom converted when she was an older lady. And that's how Jen became Mormon also, was because her mom converted. But I thought that dynamic, and you can see it even in the show when they walk in, she doesn't speak very good English. Like you can just see the two different worlds colliding. I think
Jen's really pretty.
She's very pretty.
She's
pretty. Very pretty.
Do you think that, so I was trying to put like ourselves in that situation of when they went to Zach's parents' house to have that party, and they were in the hot tub and some's like snuck in alcohol. And I'm like, if that was our friends, I mean, in some sense, they're all in their 30s. Like you're in your 30s. But I think if we were all sneaking it together, but it was a friend's house, I think I would do that. But if it was a friend's parents' house, I don't feel like I would be comfortable with that.
I wouldn't do it. I've been in situations
I feel like
where
it's really disrespectful.
It's very disrespectful. I've been to parties where they're LDS and the parents are hosting it, and I would never bring my own alcohol in. To me, that's a sign of disrespect to the family. I was really disappointed in that episode. But then, because I felt like it made it seem like people do that when really you don't. Yeah. It's not. You don't.
Which also got them uninvited from the baby blessing.
I mean, I would have invited. I don't blame her. Because it was that.
Oh my gosh.
She's killed it. Because it was at his parents' house.
Yeah.
Like his dad's a heart surgeon. Yeah. Like, for crying out loud, be respectful. I'd want you to be respectful at my parents' house. Yeah. I'd be respectful at your parents' house.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past me to like have a drink in the parking lot, but I would never sneak anything in or have a drink beforehand at a happy hour and then go to the dry party.
Yeah.
Totally fine. The one thing I noticed when they, not just on the show, but when the girls are like at podcasts and talking, they talk about the Mormon religion, but they don't talk about the deep parts of it. They say, what did they call it?
They kept calling, this is what I was going to ask. They keep calling themselves modernized Mormons.
Okay.
Which I didn't like, because that's like you and I saying, I'm trying to modernize non-denominational Christians, or I'm trying to modernize Catholics and Baptists. Like, when they said that, I'm like, you're trying to change your scriptures. Like, that's like us trying to change the commandments. Like, they were made for a reason. You just want to be able to drink.
Yeah. Yes. You just want to stray away. Whatever. Or make your own choices. That's fine.
Then don't
say you're modernizing it. Yeah.
They kept saying that through the show. Like, we're trying to modernize by talking about sex and drinking and tattoos. And I'm like, but those are part of your rules.
Yeah.
Like, so then you either live by it or you don't.
Yeah.
I
don't think you can say modernizing it. I think you can say we're having conversations about it.
I think it would have been better if they would have said having conversations. Yeah. I think the other thing I was telling you earlier was the opening credits was such a huge thing
with
the coats in the Mormon religion, because it looked very Handmaid's Tale looking, and 3 of the girls tried to not have that be in the show.
Now, what are the coats about? Is there any significance with the coats, or that was just literally the colors that they chose?
That's
to put
the color that they chose.
Do you think the producers knew, hey, let's go Handmaid's Tale-ish?
Yeah, since it's on Hulu is Handmaid's, and theirs is red.
Yeah.
So there's not to my knowledge of any blue.
I was thinking more of because we're Handmaids.
Because they always wear
Serena,
white.
They were wearing green. So the holy women wear the green coats, remember? They wear the green outfits versus the red.
I just know when you go in the temple, you wear all white. So I was like, well, why aren't they wearing all white then? Because they're standing in front of the temple. So that was my thing.
Temple, there's a word that one of them used, temple worthy.
Yes.
Temple worthy. Mm-hmm. So you have to be temple worthy to get married there or to go into those.
You can't commit any of those sins.
Yeah.
So no sex, no tattoos, no drinking.
I think there were at least 2 girls that they said they were temple worthy.
But you can become temple worthy again.
Yeah, after meeting with the bishop and going
through the process.
Whatever it may be.
And then you can get sealed again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I knew some people from high school that did. They had actually had sex before marriage. But to them, it was a big covenant and thing to get married. And so they went
did the work,
confessed their sins and worked with the bishop and got married in the temple because of it.
Yeah, I've had some do that. And then I've had some that have done everything correctly. And when they got married, it was their person the same thing. And they got to get married in the temple.
Yeah.
You know, so. But
it's very interesting.
It's very interesting. And I was a little nervous that they were going to dive too deep into the religion because I was like, hey, it's not fair. Like,
yeah, totally.
One of the questions that we got, I put on our Instagram, and I think it's a good question.
Andrea came with some questions from some people that just threw them out there.
Threw them out there for us. Someone asked us, do you think they are actually Mormon? I do think 3 of them are.
Which ones?
I think it's Michaela. Because she got married at 16. I've had a friend get married at 16 for getting pregnant. And she's still with her person. Great. I give her so much power to that. Macy. Because, and I will say this, California Mormons are so different than Arizona Mormons and so different than Utah, Wyoming. They all have different things. Like,
and that's what they've said.
Yeah. Like my dad grew up in Utah. And then when he moved here his senior year, like he, no matter what, was going to medical school, was not up for negotiation. And he wasn't going to go on a mission because he was going to go straight to college. Then his parents moved him to Arizona. And now everybody's saying, go on a mission. And he's like, but in Utah, they were fine with me going and being a doctor. And he didn't go on a mission. He went and did his doctor thing.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then the girls could go on missions. They made the age different because boys go at 18.
Yeah.
Girls can go at 21. I had a friend go at 21 and it was a great experience for her. Yeah. She loved it.
Do you think it's because they're like, some are being encouraged. Yeah, they're being encouraged to get married earlier. But do you think they're like, hey, the world's changing. Like if you want to go and be a missionary, stay true to your values, but then get married after your mission.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's that. And then they get married after your mission. Because I've had guy friends go on their mission and they come back and the girl waited. And then sometimes the girl didn't wait, and that stinks.
Yeah.
I saw that happen a lot. And then
she needed one of those vibrators.
Just kidding. She met someone else that came home from a mission earlier, that was older.
Yeah.
It just depends. And then, I've had friends that went on missions, came home, and sometimes a few years later, they met their person.
Yeah.
It just depends, and how it lines up type of thing. But so I think Michaela is, I think Macy is, and Whitney. I have 4. Whitney.
Yes.
I question Whitney a little bit with her cussing. That really irks me.
But I think that's what she chooses to do.
Yep. That's her sinful me. And then Jen. Jen reminds me a lot of my friends. Just, with the garment wearing, the way she wear her clothes. That's a lot of my girlfriends wear. And
very conservative.
Yeah. And I respect that. And I'm the same way. And that's probably because I was raised around that. Yeah. That's why I do it too.
Oh my gosh, that's true. You always have been pretty conservative dress-wise.
I have. You even made a comment at your Christmas party. I walked in and it was long sleeve, but I had a
tiny little peep.
Crop pot, and you were like, I can see your stomach. And I was like, ooh, my God.
It's like the sexiest thing I'd ever seen you in.
I just am so modest. But I think it's from my upbringing. Yeah. They were all modest. Yeah. So I dressed modest.
Yeah.
Jen reminded me a lot of them because of just the way she was more modest in her dressing.
Yeah.
The way she dressed than the rest of them. Yeah. But Taylor is figuring it out.
Yeah.
I don't think Jessie said she doesn't practice.
Okay.
Jessie shared that.
They were just all raised that way.
They were all raised that way. Jessie and Demi, same thing. They all said they were raised in it. And Layla, all raised it. No, Layla converted.
That's right. Because she wasn't raised at all with anything.
And
then
that's common.
she found kind of that tribe basically and said, ooh,
and
I
I've had a
want
friend
this.
do that too, where she found her. They are so family oriented. It's so attracting.
Yeah.
And so, those 4, they were called like the
saints.
Oh, and the other ones were called the sinners, which I'm like, you guys are all sinning. Like, you're not better than that other group.
Everyone is a sinner.
Yeah. And then I started thinking, because Chris and I started talking about it, and he was like, how would you compare it to like your friends? Like, you all love Jesus. And I'm like, I would never divide us and be like, you're the saint and I'm the sinner.
Yeah.
Like, we all believe the same thing. We all make different choices. But in the bottom line is, it's up to God.
Yeah.
Like, so I feel like they're just focusing so much on what the religion says, when really they believe in, as long as you just can repent and you love Jesus and you love your family, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
For them.
But I also think though that they had to kind of play off the Mormonism thing
to capture,
because that's what the show was about. Yep. And so like,
and because of Taylor's scandal.
Yes.
I mean, who would have thought?
Yes.
I mean, there would have been there's Christian swingers, there's Catholic swingers. They're all over the place.
There's pastors who have affairs. I'm sure there's bishops who've had affairs.
Yeah.
Like, it just,
look at,
we're all broken. It's a broken world.
Hillsong. That was a huge, where's the show for that? I think because Mormonism is such a secretive thing, that was why they captured it.
Yeah.
Because it's looked to be so secretive.
Yes.
And so here's this girl, and she just broadcast it to the world. So they were like, we need to captivate on it. And they broke Hulu. On day 1, they broke Hulu.
No wonder there's a season 2 coming. They haven't confirmed, but
they're all like on their TikTok saying that season 2's coming.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a season 2.
Yeah.
Because everyone was so intrigued by it. Absolutely. The one thing that before you and I actually watched the show, before it came out, I remember Taylor sat down with, was it Nick Viall, I think, and his wife, and she really dove into
that was so
swinging.
Heartbreaking.
And it was so hard to hear. And I was talking to my husband about it, and he was like, why would you listen to that? But I was like telling him, I'm like, this is how it started. It started very playful, and it became this huge thing. But I'm like, talk about dangerous. Like how
such
dangerous it is to be like, oh, you guys should just kiss. And it like just opens these doors. It's kind of like how they say like weed is like not weed. I feel like there's a drug that they say is like the key to
cocaine.
I don't know. But like, it's like you start small, but then it can grow and grow
bigger,
and grow.
bigger,
so
and bigger.
And then you end up
it's like
naked in bed with a spouse.
It's so funny because I said the same thing to Chris. I'm like, it's like when we go to Mexico and we're all like,
getting wild.
Sarah and I are going to make out right now. Like, why would I? Like, you're opening the door. And then she shared how then they started the women would wear lingerie and start kissing. And then the husbands are like, well, let's explore this.
Yeah.
But I thought the weirdest part in her, like, if you want to go listen to Taylor's, go listen to Nick Viall's because it's heartbreaking.
And it was a long one, too.
It's a long one. She dives really into it. Where they shared how the first intimacy with the couples happened, where they're side by side. Like, I was telling Chris, like, that is just disgusting because it's like me and Ryan and you and Chris, and we're side by side. Like,
no, it's so
and
gross.
It's so that they say they're not being unfaithful.
Yeah.
You are being unfaithful.
Yeah.
Like, bottom line, but it's just how they get away with it. Yeah. Like, I just was mind blown.
Both divorced.
Both divorced. She said both couples are divorced. I would.
Or you would start gaining feelings for the other person
and
or whatever
she did. And then she talked about, like, there was another guy that had feelings for her, but she didn't have feelings for him. And he was texting her. We don't know who that is still. And then she talked about the guy that she did have feelings for and what happened. And that was just so sad because I feel like she was assaulted by the way she described it.
Yeah.
But she was so drunk.
Yeah.
She doesn't even remember. Yeah. She just remembers when she woke up and it looked like an assault situation.
Yeah.
And Nick, I loved how Nick and his wife were like, no, you were assaulted. And she was like, no, I wasn't. And I think she's still dealing with that.
But if they weren't ever much drinkers before, and then all of a sudden you're drinking too much and you are knocked out and you just assume, well, this is on me because I drank so much that I was kind of knocked out.
And that's probably what she's thinking.
Yeah.
Like, I drank too much that I don't even know what happened.
She just wants to own everything. But I think there are some things that you don't have to own when it happened to you.
She is very good at owning it all.
Yeah.
But yeah, that even with Whitney, like her confrontation with Whitney, she owned. With Demi, she owns every confrontation because you can tell she wants the friendship.
Yeah.
She really is like, let's have it out type of thing. Another question that we got, well, you need to answer real quick. We'll answer this one. Who was your favorite out of all of them? Your absolute favorite?
I think some of them are really young. And so it was interesting to watch in that aspect because even though they get married young, like it's just like, oh, you're still such growing. A fresh baby.
Yeah.
I liked seeing Macy start her own company. Mm-hmm. I think that when you have had all that attention on you from TikTok or whatever it may be, content creator, like most smart people then create something else. Yes. And so like you have everyone who has their celebrity alcohols or, you know, the Uncommon James from Kristen Cavallari or whatever it may be.
She took it further.
I think that was really smart of her. I don't know if Jessie always had her hair thing. Yeah. Probably before her followers, but I think that I respect Macy in that way of being like, do the grind, get it done. And like, I thought that was cool. I like watching Taylor. I think it's nice to see her. To me, there wasn't anyone that stood out huge. And it also, like, again, as I watch, like, I don't feel invested. Like, and even from an outsider, I actually am watching it and thinking like, oh, I would never want to do this ever. Or I was like, I hope my daughter never does this. No. Is the way I was thinking. No. I liked Macy too. Yeah. I liked her because she wasn't afraid to have hard conversations and she cared about everybody. I was going to say, she really cared and she wanted people to feel welcome, to be invited.
Even with Whitney, like, she really held out for Whitney and still does. Like, she is a great representation of like reconcile of what it looks like. That was what I liked about her out of all of them. But yeah, I'm with you even with Taylor. Like, Taylor's just entertaining. Like, because she lives a very crazy life.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's your phone. So funny. You were like, wait till you see the episode. This is how I would do Botox. So they go and they get gassed up. And that's how they get like touched up on their face. And you were like, if I ever do Botox, this is the only way I would be able to do it.
This is the only way. I told Chris the same thing. I shared. He walked in because I was watching it one more time last night to remember. And he walked in when they were doing it. And he's like, what are they doing? I'm like, they're about to get Botox. And he was like, now that's how you do Botox.
Exactly.
I know it makes me a wimp, but I just can't handle needles at my face.
But you also have them on you. I mean, you have your tattoos.
I know, but they're down here.
But not on your face.
Not on my face.
No.
That's just weird.
I thought that was so funny.
That. And then I thought we should talk about the Vegas episodes.
I did not watch Vegas.
Okay. So it was interesting because
I don't like that they chose Chippendales, but go ahead. You've seen it, so you go ahead.
I was actually talking to Chris about it last night because I was like, the Vegas scene, I felt like a lot of us married women could relate to because it's like, okay, we're going to go to Vegas. You should at least tell me what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I would have personally not have gone to Chippendales. Like, I would have, the way they handled it all, the 3 women that left, they handled it right. When they found out where they were, they texted their spouse and boyfriend saying, I'm at Chippendales, but I'm leaving. Like, I didn't know I was coming here. I feel like
Chris, why did they go to Las Vegas in the first place?
They were doing like a staycation, like not a staycation, like a girls trip. Jessie planned it because she got her vajayjay redone. Oh, and it was to celebrate that and her redo boobs. And so
Vegas was probably just, again, another thing for production.
Yeah. And who knows? Production might have picked the place.
Yeah.
And she did the house, but I think she took it too far by taking all the girls to Chippendales and not telling them
where they were going.
That's where I felt like that was so not okay. And I would have been pissed as a friend. Like if you rented a bus, didn't tell me where you were taking me, and then you take me to Chippendales.
Yeah.
I would have been.
Or a strip club or
a strip club.
Yeah.
I would have been like, I'm married. Like, because I try to put myself in, like, if it was my husband, I'd be pissed.
Oh, so pissed.
I'd be so mad.
Yeah.
And I would hope he would leave.
Yeah.
And I know Chris has been in those situations for a bachelor party where he was in ministry and he told them, I'll go to dinner with you guys, but when it's time for you to go to the strip club, I'm going to stay here and I'll wait for you guys at the bar. You just let me know where you're going next.
Yeah.
Like, he did not go inside.
Yeah.
And that's how I would have handled it. I didn't appreciate how Jen Affleck's husband reacted.
Yeah.
It was bad. He took it too far. Like, he made Mormon men look horrible. I was so disappointed in his reaction because I was just like, she didn't do anything wrong. She left. Why aren't you happy for her? Instead, you're saying, I'm going to divorce you. And then you go and gamble, and gambling is a sin.
Yeah.
So I just thought that showed a whole lot. And then she said on Nick's podcast that they're in therapy and she has her line drawn. And if he does it again, she's out. And I'm like, wow, that's bold to say in the Mormon faith. But I mean, you, heaven forbid you respect your wife. I mean, you know. I think he could have just talk that way. Yeah, he could have handled it so differently. And like, I guess they never showed us the text thread, but the other girls saw it and they were mortified by the way he was talking to her, what he was saying to her. And they all to this day don't like him. They've all said on the podcast. He seems like a bro to me. Yeah. Doesn't he? He looks like a bro. I'm like, get a haircut. He did get a haircut. Oh, it's a bro. But yeah, so that one was, I just was like, oh Lord. Yeah. Type of thing. Another question we got, I don't really want to answer this one. Did you binge watch the show? And if so, how long did it take you? Oh Lord. Andrea. I am not, to be honest, I am not fully through the show. So I did not binge watch it. I have a new thing where we all go to bed at a certain time. And if my husband doesn't fall asleep on the couch, then I can't watch what I want to watch. And so I balance all these shows and try to finish things because I get like 30 minutes to squeeze in for my own stuff. So yeah. So she hasn't finished. However, it came out on Thursday at 9:00 and I'm texting her, it's out, all of them. And she's like, watch one. I'm like, oh gosh. I did only get through the first one because I did fall asleep. Yeah. I remember 2 starting and I had fallen asleep and Chris said he turned it off when he came in. The next day my kids were at school and I didn't work that on Fridays. And so I sat there and I watched it all. I was so And Andrea guilty. Was finished in 2 days. She was finished with the episodes. There's only 8, Kay. In my defense, there's only 8. Oh, good. That means I have one more. I'm at 7. Yeah. You only have one more. And it's one of those shows that you don't really, like, I was cleaning. Like, I wasn't really focused. I did sit down for the Vegas part because I could feel the tension. So I'm like, okay, clearly I'm missing something because I had it in my ears. And so then I sat down and I was like, oh, like, so I paid attention more there. And then the last episode about Macy's party because I wanted to learn more about what she sells. Yeah. And then it's episode where Taylor has her baby. So I really wanted to see how that unfolded. Yes. So, but yeah, a day and a half. I would say the one thing going into watching it and then also you and I talking about it, what kept going through my mind is, we are not Mormon. No. And even though you know the culture well and have had friends in the faith and I've had friends in the faith, we're not Mormon. And so I think if they blasted Christianity, if they did a show on any religion, it's fair to say this is still a reality show. So to each his own, if this is your story, it doesn't totally depict your faith. We know some things, but we're not going to bash you about it as I would hope that, you wouldn't bash us as Christians. But the one thing I thought that was interesting is they keep saying, oh, like they grew up so strict and so maybe they rebelled or whatever. But I'm like, that happens with
everywhere.
any
Anyone
religion.
with strict parents. I mean, it doesn't even have to be religious.
Yeah, anybody with just strict parents.
Yeah, I'm like, this is actually just a thing. This is not a Mormon thing.
No, and I'd rather have strict parents. Like,
well, now we know we'd rather have strict parents
because we're parents now.
Yes,
I'm glad my parents and your parents raised us strictly
and saved us from a lot of trouble. I'm sure.
And when we were watching it, we were texting each other like, I guarantee whoever's listening has watched this, but if you haven't, it's very catty. Like, super
almost like planned catty in some ways.
And I think we're both 40. And so I think everybody,
that's why it was hard to watch for me.
Yeah, because we're in a different stage now where we just don't care. Like, we really don't care. I didn't believe that when all my friends were turning 40. They're like, wait till you turn 40. You're just not going to care. Like, in your 20s, you're finding out what you are. And in your 30s, you're looking for that close-knit group. And in your 40s, you're like, well, I don't really care if you don't want to be my friend.
Yeah.
This is who I am.
Yeah.
Love me or don't love me.
Yeah.
It's kind of where, and I feel like those girls are in that part where they want the click.
Yeah.
And because they're all almost, some of them are very young and they're figuring out their purpose, but a majority of them were 28 to 30.
Yeah.
And they're in that I want community.
And they're almost like business partners in some ways. It's like like Whitney was saying, there are some things she wouldn't have gone to or done, but she's getting paid to show up. And so you're showing up. And even though you left the friend group, which they keep bringing up, which was so awkward, like you left the text chat or whatever, like you're still showing up because you're being paid to show up.
And she left because she felt like it was toxic to her mental health. Okay, great for you.
Yeah.
But clearly, like, she's coming because she's being paid, like you said.
And they all kept saying, I felt bad for her that they were saying she was like the villain. But the crazy thing is that no one even saw it. Like, all the celebrities and podcasters and people watched all of it before the girls even got to see it themselves. So she was like, oh, I'm the villain. And so now she's been doing like solo interviews. Yeah.
Which we all thought was weird at the beginning because everybody was doing interviews and she wasn't. And it was, she shared
in her thrown off.
Because everybody's like, you're the villain. And she was like, wait, what? And she hadn't watched it. And then when she watched it, she said she had to take a week off to process what was said.
Yeah.
And I thought it was interesting. Like she said in the first episode, the confrontation with Taylor was about a video. And it's not even the video that they showed.
Exactly.
I was like, wow. Like,
not to mention it's a reality show and the producers will show what they show. Which,
they decide. And they all own that. Every single girl owned. They're going to show what they show.
Yeah.
Type of thing.
Okay. So to finish off our review of Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, we've got our More Mom do's and don'ts. So here are the things. Tell me what you think comparing it to Christianity.
Okay.
Okay. And maybe your thoughts on it. All right. So it says the cast proves that some rules are easier to follow than others. Don't have sex before marriage.
Well, yeah. That's absolutely not.
And we would tell our kids the same thing.
Tell the same thing.
1,000%.
I was raised absolutely not. So
do have children.
Yes. Like if I can.
Yeah.
If I can have kids, I will.
We're podcasting. We're finishing right now. Okay. You shut the door. Do have children.
Yes. I think that's if I can, then yes. But it's not, they were talking about on the show you had to be 21. That's not true. Like I had friends that had babies way after 21. I had babies after 21. So yeah.
Yeah.
That's
do have children.
If you can.
And if naturally you can't, I say still create a family.
Yep.
And
adopt. Do whatever you need to do.
Absolutely. Don't drink alcohol.
So it's different for me because I was raised by a Mormon dad. So no alcohol was allowed in my house until I turned 21.
Okay.
And then my mom would drink. She was raised Methodist. And so she would drink out, have a glass at a party and things like that. But I always saw outside of our house where now like she has beer and wine and stuff. And I'm like.
When you used to have parties when you were 21, she had like the margarita machines.
Yep. And all that because she's like, she's 21 now.
Which is like your love of all the sweet drinks.
Yes. But I think growing up, like I'm trying to teach my kids now, like, no, like Chris is putting all the liquor in a locked cabinet because we have a teenager now.
Yeah.
And I don't want him to get into it.
Yeah.
Because you never know. They dare each other.
Oh, I know. They're so crazy, especially boys.
Oh, yes.
Oh, my gosh. Do wear garments.
Well, our religion does not wear garments.
No, we do not.
We do not. So I do not. But I know they do.
Yeah.
I have friends that do.
And we do know people who, like on their wedding day, have worn white to kind of represent just like the purity.
Yeah. We wore white to represent and for us, it's the veil.
Yeah.
Ours is if the veil's over you, you haven't had sex. Remember?
Oh, really?
Yes, that's what that that's what it means,
that's
Sarah.
Interesting. Don't do drugs.
Amen.
I feel like that should be across the board.
It's across the board. I feel like
it doesn't have to be in the Book of Wisdom or whatever.
I think it's across the board for
Don't
any.
do drugs.
Yeah.
Although this does say whether they're legal or illegal. And I have a couple people that I know. I mean, you know.
It's such a toss-up because some things are illegal.
Yeah. Don't get tattoos or body piercings.
So growing up, I was not allowed to have any body piercings or tattoos. So I didn't get my tattoos until my 30s. And my dad was ready to murder me.
But you had your ears pierced.
Yeah, my mom, and that was drama. My mom went and did it when I was a baby. And my dad was like, what did you do? I'm glad because I probably would have never done it. And same with my sister. And my tattoos
And they were saying too, like you can get your ears pierced maybe 1 or 2 holes, but you don't do more than that.
No more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was always told I could only have 1 on both sides. I never did more. And then I married someone that had earrings and that was so much drama. Remember my mom made him take them out for the wedding? Because she was like, I don't want any earrings in my picture. Now he doesn't even wear them.
Oh.
So
Chris, put your earrings back in.
Even the kids asked, you wore earrings? He's like, I did.
Oh, that's so funny. I would say the body piercings. I remember in high school, I wanted to get my belly button pierced. That's when it was like so cool. And we had to find a friend and we went to like some stranger's house. It was probably so unsanitary, but you didn't have to have your parents sign. And I'll never forget, I like laid down on the stranger's couch and he's like, wow, you have really like rough skin. This is going to be hard. This is really rough skin. And he had to stab it through. And I was like, no. And I had to hide it. Like, luckily, I wasn't wearing crop tops.
Yeah. Like
I had to hide it for forever from my parents.
My gosh.
I know.
Yep.
And then I got it re-pierced again when I turned 18.
Oh my gosh.
I was such a rebel. Look at me.
Look
Christian
at you
rebel.
now.
Oh my gosh.
How would you, okay, so they do say season 2 is coming out. Will you watch season 2?
I will because I'm curious to see if they share the stories from the other girls. I would watch it to watch it, but
I hope they share their stories.
Yes.
Because they each have.
They would have to have a little more depth to it.
Me too. I think they need to share their stories.
And maybe now that they've had such popularity of the show, they'll go into depth more of the other things for sure.
So we will both watch season 2.
We will both be watching season 2. Hulu, you hear that?
Yeah, you hear that, Hulu?
But if you had to, Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, Real Housewives. What's another one you watch? Love is Blind?
No, Sister Wives.
How would you rate them with your reality shows?
Sister Wives number 1.
Okay.
Just because the whole polygamy thing is so wrong. And right now he has 1 wife now. So I'm like, and he's questioning his whole belief system right now. So that season's it's on right now and it's super intriguing. I would put Mormon Wives next.
Okay.
And in Salt Lake, because this season was Salt Lake, they're so like costumey. Their outfits, it seems really staged this season compared to last. They need to bring Monica back, and then I could rearrange my order.
Okay.
Monica made it more real with that. So, how about you?
I would watch Kardashians all the way.
You did not even put Kardashians in there. You gave
Where would they be at for you?
Oh, well,
you have a lot of reality shows you watch.
Kardashians would be first.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, did I tell you at Disneyland? You had already left. We went to get in line and, the fancy people that come with the celebrities, someone came. No one knew who he was. I couldn't figure it out. But we were standing right next to the girl that controls the ride. And I was like, do you see famous people? And she's like, yeah, we're supposed to treat them normally. I was like, have you ever seen the Kardashians? And she's like, yes. And I was like, what are they like? She's like, they're very quiet. And she goes, but what's funny is they look 10 years older in person.
Really?
Because they have a filter on their cameras on Hulu.
What?
Didn't mind blowing.
Wow.
Yep.
Secrets are revealed.
Secrets are revealed.
I can't believe it.
So we need a filter.
Oh, we gotta end on that note. Andrea, thank you for visiting. Thank you for bringing Swig.
You're welcome.
So we can enjoy Mormon-esque drinks.
Yep.
And it was a delight.
It was a delight.
Till next time.
Till next time, guys.
Oh my God.
Thanks for joining us today for the Sprinter Mom with Lashes on podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review. We'll see you next week.